our visibility into the mints, the wholesalers, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a gradual increase.
Right.
Banks are not going to give up on manipulating the prices until they have no inventory to manipulate. Once they have zero, then okay, now what's the price, guys? And we saw this last year during COVID.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching Yankee Stacking. And today we have Tyler Wall, the CEO of SD Bullion, on with us again. Hi Tyler, welcome back to Yankee Stacking.
Hi, thanks for having me back on, Yankee.
My pleasure. I hear you've been really busy with some interesting facility changes at SD Bullion. So what's going on?
So 8 years ago, we moved into the facility that we currently utilize, and we've outgrown the facility, several years ago. Our debt-free policy has probably delayed that move a little bit longer than what most businesses would have done. But for us, this new facility for the scale that we're at currently, I mean, no longer are we getting in boxes from our mints and suppliers. We're getting pallets, and we're getting many pallets, and Brinks trucks deliveries, stuff that we weren't experiencing 8 years ago is now the scale that we're at now. So having that ability to move pallets and large 25,000 ounce pallet silver, full of silver around our facility is a big deal. And then furthermore, our depository is also a big deal. I mean, SD Depositories continues to grow. There's a lot of people that have taken advantage, a lot of higher net worth individuals where maybe it doesn't make a lot of sense to store several $1 million at your house. Maybe there eventually becomes a tolerance level that you say, I have maybe some in my house, but maybe I want to store some with somebody I trust. And we're seeing a lot of that come into play. Furthermore, there's this sales tax, issues. Luckily, we've got a couple of states where, the state of Ohio is one where we've got sales tax taken back off the books where people from Ohio can purchase without sales tax now. But there's some other states that still tax precious metal transactions, and there's no sales tax. It falls underneath the Michigan sales tax rules when you purchase and you put it in the depository. So we've seen a lot of interest in that area. And then furthermore, we should be able to get IRA approved here shortly thereafter. So once we get an IRA approved depository, there's tons of customers that have asked us to store their IRAs at our depository, and that just hasn't been available to them so far.
Since we last talked, gold and silver got hammered. Gold's down about 10%, I think, from February's highs, and it's now just running flat. Silver's down over 20% during that time frame. That's technically a bear market now in silver. Why the pain?
It's very frustrating, I guess, to be a gold and silver bug myself for the last 13 years, and kind of be right on your prediction, that inflation is going to be an issue, and see what we thought was going to happen, right? I mean, we've been talking about this for a decade, that we said this was going to happen, this was going to happen, this is going to happen. And to see gold and silver kind of just stay range bound trading between the 22 and the 28 on silver, and gold just struggle to get back up to 1900, even not even challenge 2000, is very, very frustrating. And I think I think we'll eventually see that change. I mean, I know that you look at natural gas prices in Europe right now, and you see up 40% in one day, and it feels like, just looking at the inside of the market, like our visibility into not retail precious metals, but also the mints, the wholesalers, it doesn't feel like it's going to be a gradual increase. If we're going to get to a point where the base metal is no longer able to be purchased by national mints or refineries or the private mints, which has never happened. I mean, it's never happened 30 or 40 years. I mean, the people that we talk to on a daily basis, the major traders, the major bullion banks, right? Their lead traders who think that they have all the wisdom in the world and all the trading experience in the world have never traded in an environment where they couldn't pick up the phone and buy silver or gold from somebody. They've always had the ability to buy it from somebody. What happens when they pick up the phone and they can't buy it from somebody. And it feels much more like a market that's going to be much more similar to the natural gas industry, or what we've seen also in Texas when they had the windstorms and the cold spell last year. It feels much more like that market than the gradual increases that you might want as a gold and silver investor. And I just think that's partly related to how the banks manipulate the prices. The banks won't give up on manipulating the prices. This is, again, my opinion.
Right.
Banks are not going to give up on manipulating the prices until they have no inventory to manipulate. Once they have zero, then, okay, now what's the price, guys? And you saw this last year during COVID, during the March, April timeframe, where you got into that crunch. That was people requiring physical delivery of the metal, and it was going for $70 more than what people said it should have gone for. And that was because nobody had physical. They just wanted to trade paper until there was no physical left, and they couldn't move it around. So last year it was a logistical issue, right? It was all based on logistics and be able to transport metal. And you'd think with the volume of metal, I'm looking at how much metal we're selling. We're the third largest precious metal retailer in the country. And I know how much the number one and number two are selling based off looking at online data and analytics. And, we have some inside data as well. And I'm thinking, like, if you just add up how much we're selling plus those two, I don't know where all this metal is coming from. I mean, we've been doing this for a year and a half, and I'm wondering at what point is there no metal to be found? And I'm not talking about retail friendly metal. I'm talking about buying metal from a mint or National Mint, and them not having the metal to produce. I feel like when we see an up move, it's going to be a significant up move, more like what we saw last year, but more prolonged, where we basically gapped up from 12.14 to 26.
Right.
I feel like we're going to do that again when we go higher here.
Talk about the debt ceiling fight that's looming.
Well, there's things that I want to happen, and there's things that I think are going to happen. And, it's kind of like one of those things where if it's kind of contradicting, right? If they behave like I think they're going to behave, then precious metal prices go up. If they behave in the best interest of the country, then precious metals might be static or they might go down. So it's been like that for a while. I mean, but I don't think things are changing, and it hasn't changed with whether it be a Republican in office or a Democrat in office. I mean, what continues to be agreed upon for the most part is that we're going to continue to increase the debt as a country. And, you've seen this, up to 28 trillion plus of national debt. And I don't think they're going to eventually pass this debt ceiling thing. That's
of course they do.
Me,
they
that's
always
not even,
do.
The question is if they're going to limit it at like 40 trillion or if they're going to have it unlimited, right?
Right.
I mean, that's the only question in my head. It's like, they're going to increase it. Like what's the terms? And, the infrastructure plan, I'm glad that it didn't pass. I mean, personally, I think it would have been positive if it passed for precious metal prices, but who needs more stimulus? There's no workers. We do not need to increase our dependencies on more raw materials that you can't find. Those raw material prices are going to go up. Like, well, infrastructure, who wants to increase the demand for the materials right now? Like, that makes no sense. And yeah, for me, it's like, hopefully it doesn't pass. I think they'll pass something. It sounds like they're going to pass a reduced, something so they can say they passed something, but I hope not.
I've had people ask me, Yankee, when would you stop stacking? And it's quite simple, actually.
Yeah.
If the government would live within its means, would stop monetizing debt and return to sound money, I'd stop stacking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's even possible.
I know, right?
Right. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if they actually withdrew the money, they withdrew the stimulus, and this is, again, my personal opinion, like, I was sitting around a table last year around COVID, right? And my brother-in-law owns a Subway. He owns about 8 Subways and has about 30 different rental properties that he rents out. And he's asked. We're talking about the economy, and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. What are we giving out stimulus checks for? We need to get people back to work. Several months after COVID, we need to get people back to work. He said, well, Tyler, we got to give stimulus money out to people because they don't have a job right now. I'm like, and they don't have a job. This whole economy's on a crash, and if the economy crashes, then there's going to be people that are dying of hunger out there. And I'm thinking, like, no, you don't understand. Like, the more money that we give out, the more money we give to people, and the longer this goes on, the more people that are eventually going to be starving, in some ways, like whether that be without housing or whether that be food or water. And eventually the government can't solve it because their currency is worth nothing. So even if they give out $1 trillion to, X amount of people, it doesn't matter, that money's worthless. And that thought process does not cross through to the majority of people when they think about stimulus. They always think that the government will have a way to solve a problem. And that's just not true. And I don't think we're at a point where the government could just say, like, oh, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. We're going to reduce our spending. We're going to reduce our, some of our social programs to offset the fact that we can't raise the debt ceiling. It's just not going to happen.
It's impossible. It's impossible politically. It would be
not going to work.
Suicide. Yeah. Right.
Right. It's not going to work. Thing. So yeah, for me, and I'm like you. It's like, I don't know if there is a time where I'm not interested in precious metals in my lifetime.
Your company, I mean, it has A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. You've got a 5-star overall customer satisfaction rating. You've been the number 1 fastest growing precious metals dealer in the U.S. What has been your secret sauce at SD Bullion?
Well, that's a good question. For us, it's been basically growing in with our means. Like we've discussed last time, we've taken on zero debt, and we've increased our overhead, especially now with this new building that we discussed. But at the same time, it's been in perspective of our volume, and so we've been able to continue to have low prices that we strive ourselves, we pride ourselves on is the low prices, and then also offering the fast service. And so I'm complaining about the shipping prices, but typically we're trying to ship as fast as possible. So we never want to be that place where somebody places an order and we're 2 to 3 months out from shipping their order. Our goal is to ship out in a normal market 1 to 3 business days. And the faster we can get our products to people, the more often they buy from us. They're like, wow, that was so easy. They're used to an Amazon-like experience, and that we try to strive ourselves like an Amazon experience. And so I think it's been a combination thing, low prices. We probably are some of the most outspoken, people in this market because we care so much about precious metals. Like we've talked about. I was a stacker from the very beginning before we even started this company. So I understand other stackers, and I understand why I want to buy the metals. I can come on here and talk about metals because I personally own them, and I have for a while. And and I think that probably gets relayed through our website because when we started out, all we knew was bullion, right? I mean, we didn't care about these graded products or these numismatic products. Like we love bullion. We love low price bullion, and we know the shipping service has got to be good, and we want our website to be really good, and the payment options to be good. So I think you combine all those different things, and that's what has led to SD Bullion's success. And we definitely appreciate partnerships like yourself, and you found us as a customer, and we value everybody else that's pretty much started from us from the ground floor up, and now have started their YouTube channels, and we're on their channels talking to the people that you've been educating with for the last several years.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. I really appreciate it. It's sdbullion.com/Yankee. If you want to check out that link, I'd appreciate it. In fact, I think that still sends people to the Silver Eagle sweepstakes. That's still on,
yes.
Right?
Yeah,
That's
we're
exciting.
giving away a month V2 2021 Munster box. I believe it's being given away in 3 months, a little bit over 3 months. And so encourage your listeners to sign up for that. It's something that we've had a lot of interest in, like you might imagine. And, it's one of those things where it's like, I'd like to take another 500 ounces off the market to give it to somebody too. So yes, it's a marketing expense, but the second thing is it gets more ounces out the door and into somebody else's hands. So 2 months ago, we were buying 90% silver at less than $1. I mean, it came down to less than $1. Like it spiked like $6 or $7 during a year ago during COVID, and it hung there for a while. And then there was this little small period where the prices are so volatile that the wholesale market, we were trading below $1 about 2 months ago on 90% silver. We had new product managers that I'm reading these Slack channels saying, "Hey Tyler, can we cut off our 90% buys because we're fully loaded?" And I'm like, no, we keep buying. It's less than $1. Keep buying. And literally like 3 weeks later, they're like, we don't have enough. Where's our 90%? We need more 90%.
It vanished
And the price,
3 weeks.
3 weeks. And the prices have now spiked that I think wholesale 90%, we're buying from places for over $5, like halves. Halves were going for $5.50, $6 at least on the wholesale market. And even if you pay that amount, you're not able to get large quantities. And so 90% led the way. It transitioned over to Eagles next. Eagles the prices have gone up basically about 30% in the last 2 weeks on the wholesale market. Sovereign mint coins have gone up probably about 10 to 15%, but add to that delays. It's like we're basically on 2 to 4 week. It's pushing 3 to 4 week now delays on sovereign mint coins. And, we're seeing that. So we've seen 90%, we've seen Eagles, and then the production rounds are the same way. We're like out 4 to 6 weeks, maybe closer to 8 weeks on private rounds.
Wow. How about platinum and palladium?
Yeah. Palladium's really hard to find. We've actually seen more retail buying interest though in platinum. We've seen a lot of platinum sales. I think we've had the record platinum sales was the month of August. When the prices have kind of gone down, and that's been pretty steady demand. So I think that palladiums, we would actually have a lot more palladium sales too if we could find it, but it's very hard to find palladium.
One last question I had for you is about privacy.
Right.
And I really want to understand, we love to purchase our silver and our gold and platinum anonymously as much as possible. It's a challenge to do that, but with cash and maybe a local coin shop dealer, we can pull that off. How does SD Bullion set up your payment policies to help us and our purchases stay as private as possible?
What we can control as a company, and we actually have, if we get a subpoena, right? So, I mean, we have, hundreds of thousands of customers. And if we get a subpoena because somebody passes away and their assets are in a trust, or they get a subpoena because somebody is, getting a divorce and their spouse wants to, they get the proper subpoena, we have to provide information on that. But it does have to be subpoenaed properly too. We make them go, this is different than a lot of businesses. Our attorney, our attorney does not let us just release information just because some law enforcement agency reaches out to us and tells us that this is what's going on. Can you send us information? They're going to have to present a subpoena and serve it properly to us for us to be able to release information. So I had a talk with our attorney, our internal legal counsel, and he's like, we're gonna make them follow through this. And the law enforcement, I don't know if it's somebody, Department of Justice of some sort. You're like, I've never done this in 15 years. I've never done this. Like if I email Google, they have a separate email or a phone number for us to send information to, and they just release it. If and they're naming off, Microsoft and all these, and we're like, well, no, that's no, we're not doing that because we have a privacy policy, and that says you got to subpoena this correctly. So we definitely understand the stacker and understand the reasons for privacy. I would encourage that if you want to understand privacy as it relates to our payment methods, though, realize what those payment methods do. Realize that if you write a personal check or a money order cashier's check, look at the place you have to get a money order cashier's check, or look at the place that you have to get a check from, or who you're writing a check from. They're going to be the ones that are potentially turning in your information, not us.
If you've never purchased your silver and gold from Tyler's company, you definitely need to check them out. Use my link if you want, sdbullion.com/Yankee. Thanks again, Tyler. Really appreciate you joining me.
Thanks for having me on, Yankee.